Hello and welcome to Joy News at 6. The news is live on Joy 99.7 FM and Hits 103.9 FM in Accra, in Kumasi on Love 99.5 FM on Facebook live stream, and over 30 affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, including Radio Wa, ATL FM Cape Coast, KTU Radio Koforidua. Go digital on Spotify and the myjoyonline.com app. Coming up, President Akufo-Addo says the decision to seek an IMF bailout was one of the difficult choices he's made, citing rising cost of crude oil on the international market for the country's woes.
I don't have any difficulty in admitting that it was a difficult decision for me to take, but I felt that in the interest of the country, we had to make that decision.
Meanwhile, the minority on Parliament's Finance Committee cast doubt over government's ability to close a deal with the IMF by the end of the year.
We at the Bank of Ghana are confident about the outlook of our economy. The current high inflation and cedi depreciation are temporary.
And in business,
Institute for Energy Security warns of shortage of petroleum products across the country in no time. Details on the Joy Business Report.
And latest Joy News documentary reveals harrowing details of how some girls in the Volta region are braving the odds to get back into school after becoming parents.
About 4.5% of those pregnancies are children below 14 years, which is clearly cases of defilement.
And later in the bulletin, we'll tell you about the special prayer team from Presec Legon tasked with the spiritual fortification and edification of the school's contestants in the ongoing NSMQ.
Said given to you from above, you cannot have it. And so we look up to the God who give it.
Oh, come along and join us. Oh, come along and join us.
Details as a Disado College Opokuwari School, Katasco and others fight for a quarter-final spot later today. Thanks for your company. The details now. President Akufo-Addo says the decision to seek an IMF bailout was one of the difficult choices he's had to make to save the economy. Ghana is currently seeking support from the fund to keep the economy afloat. Speaking on Kumasi-based Otek FM, President Akufo-Addo cited the rising cost of crude oil on the international market as one of the factors for the country's economic woes.
2/3 increase. $40 more than we had projected. So you can imagine the difficulties that there was for the Bank of Ghana. So instead of now finding $64 for each barrel of oil, the Bank of Ghana was now having to find 100 plus. Good. And it stayed like that virtually. In fact, it is only very, very recently that the price of crude oil has come down under. I'm just using this one very important fact to tell you what drove the government to these very difficult decisions of going to the IMF. Yeah. I don't have any difficulty in admitting that it was a difficult decision for me to take, but I felt that in the interest of the country, in the interest of our economy, we had to make that decision.
President Akufo-Addo there. Meanwhile, the minority on Parliament's Finance Committee has cast doubt on government's chances of closing a deal with the IMF by the end of the year. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta had indicated government is working hard to get a deal by November this year. But speaking to Joy Business's George Riafe in Washington, D.C. at the just-ended annual IMF World Bank meeting, ranking member on the committee, Dr. Attoforsen, said Ghana can only secure a deal with the IMF by the first quarter of 2023.
I would wish Ghana fast-track it, and I'm for a very quick IMF program. But I can assure you that November is not possible, December not possible. The earliest Ghana can have an IMF program, if we are committed to it, will be in the first quarter of 2023.
Ranking member on Parliament's Finance Committee, Dr. Attoforsen there. Now, after attaining a first class and completing her national service as a teaching assistant at the University of Education, Winneba, Priscilla Akwagu vowed to get her family out of poverty. She returned to the family's fruit selling business to take care of her 2 children and make wealth. Love FM's Bright Emmanuel Kweku caught up with her at her base in Asante Mampong.
I referred them as the brown mouth-watering bowls of Asante Mampong, but they are known locally as bofruits, a corrupted word of buffalo in some parts of the country. This is not just a mere favorite accompaniment to most Ghanaian breakfast meals, but a life changer. Priscilla Akwagu, a 32-year-old single mother of two, weaned her family off abject poverty through hawking buffalo.
As a kid growing up, I lived with my brother. My mom was somewhere and I was with my brother in Kumasi. So I started the hawking business, selling things over there. I was selling sugarcane. That was how we were surviving. My mom happens to sell, and then the debt was on her. I decided to see how best I can also help her clear off the debts, because definitely I'm the eldest daughter, and then I should be able to support her, even though I was working, but that wasn't helping. So I took over, and I realized it was a good business. So I just decided to manage it. I can buy maybe 5 drums of the flour, the oil. I can buy 5 bags of the flour, and that can last me for roughly 2 weeks. But now, because you have 2,000, you buy just 2 of this, 2 of the flour, and you are gone. Where is the one you are going to use to buy the sugar, the margarine, and then you go to the mill and fix it and mix it? How are you going to pay for it?
Emmanuel Bright Kweku with our latest edition of the Living Standard series. Stigmatization is threatening the Ghana Education Service's school re-entry policy for pregnant adolescent girls and adolescent mothers. The policy is aimed at ensuring that the girl child attains her full potential by returning to school after pregnancy or childbirth. Joy News' latest documentary, Girls, School, Pregnancy, produced by Emefa Atiamwa Eli, details how some girls in the Akachi North District of the Volta region are braving the odds to get back to school. Here are excerpts.
Data from the latest multiple cluster indicator survey show that teenage pregnancy is most prevalent in Ghana's Upper West, Upper East, and Volta regions. In the Akachi North District, figures are higher than the national average. So we travel to Abedakba, one of the communities in Akachi North, where teenage pregnancy is very common.
Akachi North happens to be the highest recording district in the Volta region. Currently, Akachi North is recording about 22% of adolescent pregnancies. About 4.5% of those pregnancies are children below 14 years, which is clearly cases of defilement.
16-year-old Joyce Achu is among several adolescent girls who got pregnant while in school. She plans to return to school after giving birth and nursing her child for at least 2 years.
There's more on this. The documentary airs on Tuesday, 18th October 2022 at 8:30 a.m. That's today on Joy 99.7 FM and at 6:30 p.m. on the Joy News channel. Don't miss it. Record title holders of the National Science and Maths Quiz, Presec Legon, say the school has a special prayer team tasked with the spiritual fortification and edification of contestants at the NSMQ. Here is leader of the team, Reverend Dr. Elvis Afram, speaking to my colleague Maxwell Akbaba.
Given to you from above, you cannot have it. And so we look up to the God who give it. And as we hang on him and do our own bit, he comes in to top it up and grace us to come out victoriously.
So last year when you didn't win it, did you think that the prayer didn't work?
At all. Last year we didn't win, but our student won the best student in the whole of Ghana here. On that same platform, NSMQ platform, they mentioned one of the best students from the National Maths and Science quiz team was awarded the best student in Ghana. Yeah. We had students having universities, about 14, 15 universities outside, looking for a particular student from our school who happens to be a member of the NSMQ last year.
In thy light, we shall see light.
Interesting days ahead. Well, there'll be 5 final contests at the 1/8 stage of the competition later today, before the quarterfinals scheduled to start tomorrow. Wednesday. Adisado College will face opposition from Koforidua Secondary Technical School, and at Chirinsia SHS Keta Senior High Technical School will face off with University Practice SHS and Nungwa SHS. Do stay with us on our social media platforms, Joy FM and Joy News, for the very latest on the NSMQ. Thank you so much for your company on this edition. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I'm Bernice Abu-Baidoo Lansah. The Super Morning Show continues.